What if I told you there is a single tree that could replace the entire multi-billion-dollar pesticide industry? A tree that is non-toxic, biodegradable, and has been used safely by humans for over 2,000 years. A tree that can control over 200 species of insects, including those that have become resistant to our most powerful chemical poisons. And what if I told you that when a Western corporation tried to patent this ancient knowledge, it sparked a global firestorm, a decade-long legal battle that pitted Indian farmers against a chemical giant, and ultimately led to a landmark victory against what many have called an act of biological piracy? This is not a hypothetical scenario. This is the real story of the neem tree, the blessed tree of India, and the fight to keep its incredible gifts free for all of humanity. My name is Marcus, and as a botanist, I have seen firsthand the devastating impact of synthetic pesticides on our environment and our health. We have been locked in a chemical arms race with insects for the better part of a century, and it is a war we are losing. For every new poison we invent, the insects evolve resistance, forcing us to create ever more toxic compounds. The result is a toxic treadmill that poisons our soil, our water, our food, and ourselves. But what if the answer was never in a laboratory? What if it was growing in a village in India all along? The neem tree, or Azadirachta indica, is a hardy, fast-growing evergreen that can reach heights of up to 20 meters. It is native to the Indian subcontinent, where approximately 14 million of these trees grow. For millennia, it has been an integral part of daily life in India. It is known in Sanskrit as Sarva Roga Nivarini, which means the curer of all ailments. In the Muslim tradition, it is called Shajar-e-Mubarak, the blessed tree. Its twigs are used as antiseptic toothbrushes by millions of Indians every day. Its oil is used in soaps, lamps, and even as a natural contraceptive. Its leaves and bark are used in traditional medicine to treat a wide range of diseases, from leprosy and diabetes to ulcers and skin disorders. But its most remarkable property, the one that caught the attention of the global chemical industry, is its ability to protect plants from insects. The ancient Sanskrit text on agriculture, the Upavana, cites neem as a cure for ailing soils, plants, and livestock. For thousands of years, Indian farmers have known that neem leaves and seeds can be used to create a potent, all-natural insecticide. The process is remarkably simple, and it has been described by scientists who have studied traditional Indian farming practices. You take the seeds, smash them up, soak them in cold water overnight, and then scoop the emulsion off the top and throw it on your crops. It is a technology that is accessible to anyone, anywhere, with no need for expensive equipment or chemical factories. There is no patent required, no corporate middleman, no supply chain that can be disrupted. It is a gift from nature, freely available to all who know how to use it. And it is incredibly effective. By 1990, scientific research had confirmed what Indian farmers had known for centuries. Neem extracts can control almost 200 species of insects, including some of the most destructive agricultural pests in the world, like locusts, boll weevils, Colorado potato beetles, Japanese beetles, and various species of aphids, whiteflies, and leaf miners. It even works on insects that have developed resistance to conventional pesticides, which makes it an invaluable tool in the fight against the growing problem of pesticide resistance. So how does it work? The secret lies in a complex cocktail of natural compounds found throughout the tree, from its roots to its spreading crown. The most important of these is a chemical called azadirachtin, which is found in the highest concentrations in the seeds. Azadirachtin is a master of disguise. It so closely mimics the shape and structure of an insect's own hormones that the insect's body is tricked into absorbing it. But once inside, it doesn't act like a hormone at all. Instead, it blocks the insect's endocrine system, throwing its entire life cycle into chaos. The effects are devastating and multifaceted. It disrupts mating and sexual communication, so the insects cannot find each other to reproduce. It deters the insects from feeding, so they starve even when surrounded by food. It prevents larvae from molting into their next stage of life, so they are trapped in their juvenile bodies and die. It sterilizes the adults, so they cannot lay viable eggs. It even inhibits the formation of chitin, the substance that makes up an insect's exoskeleton, so they cannot grow properly. It is a multi-pronged attack that insects simply cannot evolve resistance to. This is the key difference between neem and synthetic pesticides. Most synthetic pesticides work through a single mode of action. They might attack the insect's nervous system, for example, or disrupt a specific enzyme. Because they are so targeted, insects can evolve resistance relatively quickly. A single mutation can render the pesticide useless. But neem works on so many different levels, affecting so many different biological processes, that it is virtually impossible for an insect population to develop immunity. It is not a blunt instrument that kills everything in its path. It is an elegant, sophisticated defense system, honed by millions of years of evolution. The tree developed these compounds to protect itself from insects, and it did so with a thoroughness that no human chemist has ever been able to match. For centuries, the Western world paid little attention to the neem tree. The traditional knowledge of Indian peasants was not considered science. The practices of indigenous farmers were dismissed as primitive and unworthy of serious study. But in the 1970s, as concerns about the environmental and health impacts of synthetic pesticides began to grow, a few Western scientists and entrepreneurs started to take a closer look. One of them was a U.S. timber importer named Robert Larson, who observed the tree's usefulness during a trip to India and began importing neem seeds to his company in Wisconsin. He conducted safety and performance tests on a neem-based pesticide he called Margosan O, and in 1985 he received clearance from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. 3 years later, he sold the patent for his product to one of the largest chemical corporations in the world, W.R. Grace and Company. This was the shot heard round the world. W.R. Grace, a multinational giant with deep pockets and a global reach, began aggressively patenting various methods of extracting and stabilizing neem oil. By 1992, over a dozen U.S. patents had been taken out by U.S. and Japanese firms on various neem-based formulas, at least 4 of which were owned by W.R. Grace. They set up a processing plant in India and began buying up neem seeds, driving up the price from around 300 rupees per ton to over 8,000 rupees per ton. A resource that had been free and common for thousands of years was suddenly becoming a commercial commodity, priced out of reach for the very farmers who had developed the knowledge to use it. For W.R. Grace, it was a brilliant business move. The global pesticide market was worth billions of dollars, and the market for biopesticides was expected to grow rapidly. They were positioning themselves to dominate this emerging market. But for many in India, it was an act of theft. They called it biopiracy, the patenting of life forms and traditional knowledge that had been developed and shared freely by indigenous communities for centuries. The outrage was immediate and widespread. In March of 1994, about 200,000 Indian farmers gathered in Delhi to protest the proposed GATT-Uruguay Round Agreement, which they feared would allow multinational corporations to patent their traditional knowledge. In October of that same year, about 500,000 farmers converged on Bangalore. In their demonstrations, the protesters carried twigs and branches of neem, a symbol of their collective indigenous knowledge. They argued that the knowledge of neem's properties was not an invention of a Western corporation, but the cultural and intellectual heritage of the Indian people. The Indian Central Insecticide Board had not even bothered to register neem products under the Insecticides Act of 1968, because the knowledge was so common and widespread that it was considered part of the public domain. How could a corporation claim to have invented something that everyone already knew? The movement was led by a remarkable woman named Vandana Shiva, a physicist turned ecologist and activist who became the global face of the fight against biopiracy. She argued that W.R. Grace's patents were based on a deliberate and racist dismissal of indigenous knowledge. The corporation claimed that their methods for stabilizing the neem extract were novel, but Indian scientists at the Indian Agricultural Research Institute had already developed similar techniques in the 1960s and 70s. Dr. R.P. Singh, a scientist at the institute, stated publicly that work on neem as a pesticide had originated in his division as early as 1962, and that extraction techniques had been developed shortly thereafter. The only thing that was novel was the Western ignorance of this pre-existing knowledge. As one report noted, the claim that traditional methods of using neem were obvious was either lamentable misjudgment or a racist dismissal of indigenous knowledge. In 1995, Vandana Shiva's organization, the Research Foundation for Science, Technology, and Ecology, along with the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements, IFOAM, and 200 other organizations from 35 countries, filed a legal challenge to W.R. Grace's patent at the European Patent Office, EPO. The legal battle raged for a decade. W.R. Grace argued that their process was a genuine innovation, that they were creating a stable, commercial product from a raw material. The challengers argued that the knowledge was not new, that it was part of the public domain in India, and that patenting it was unethical and illegal. Finally, in 2000, the EPO delivered a landmark ruling. It revoked W.R. Grace's patent, agreeing with the challengers that the knowledge was not novel and that the patent amounted to an act of biopiracy. It was the first time a patent had been overturned on these grounds. W.R. Grace appealed the decision, but in 2005, the EPO upheld its original ruling, and the patent was permanently revoked. It was a historic victory for farmers, for indigenous communities, and for the principle that the gifts of nature should not be the exclusive property of any corporation. So why would a company go to such lengths to patent a tree? The answer, as always, is money. The global pesticide industry is a behemoth, worth over $60 billion a year. It is an industry built on a model of planned obsolescence. The more insects develop resistance to their products, the more new products they can sell. A tree that provides a free, effective, and permanent solution to pest problems is a direct threat to this business model. A farmer who can grow their own pesticide is a farmer who is not buying it from a chemical company. Self-sufficiency is the enemy of corporate profit. The story of the neem patent is a classic case of a corporation trying to privatize a public good, to turn a free resource into a commodity that can be bought and sold. It is a story that has been repeated again and again with other traditional plants and medicines from around the world. I have a neem tree in my own greenhouse, and I use its oil to protect my other plants. It is a beautiful tree with a deep and powerful history. Every time I use it, I am reminded of the long line of farmers and healers who came before me, who understood its secrets long before any scientist in a lab. And I am reminded of the courage of the people who fought to keep that knowledge free. Have you ever used neem oil in your garden? Have you ever encountered a traditional plant or remedy that you believe should be protected from corporate ownership? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. The story of the neem tree is a powerful reminder that some of the most profound solutions to our problems are not to be found in the latest technological innovations, but in the ancient wisdom of the natural world. It is a reminder that we must be vigilant in protecting our common heritage from the forces of privatization and greed. And it is a reminder that when people come together to defend what is right, they can win, even against the most powerful corporations in the world. The neem tree is a gift. It is a gift to the farmers of India, and it is a gift to all of us. And thanks to the courage of a few dedicated activists, it is a gift that remains free for all to use. The knowledge is there. It has been there for 2,000 years. All we have to do is remember it. But the story does not end there. The victory at the European Patent Office was a landmark moment, but the fight continues. Even today, corporations are attempting to patent traditional knowledge from around the world, from the medicinal plants of the Amazon to the agricultural techniques of African farmers. The neem case set an important precedent, but it also revealed the enormous resources and determination that are required to challenge a patent. Most communities do not have the organization, the funding, or the legal expertise to fight back. For every neem victory, there are countless cases where traditional knowledge has been quietly appropriated, where the gifts of indigenous communities have been turned into the private property of corporations. This is why the neem tree has become such a powerful symbol. It represents not just a single plant, but a whole way of thinking about our relationship with the natural world. It represents the idea that knowledge can be shared, that nature's gifts belong to everyone, and that there are some things that should never be bought and sold. It represents the wisdom of communities who have lived in harmony with their environment for thousands of years. Communities who understood that the health of the land and the health of the people are one and the same. I think about the Indian farmers who marched in the streets, carrying their neem branches. They were not just fighting for a tree. They were fighting for a principle. They were fighting for the right to use the knowledge that their ancestors had developed and passed down through generations. They were fighting against a system that would turn every living thing into a commodity, every piece of wisdom into a patent, every gift into a product. And they won. They proved that ordinary people, when they come together, can stand up to the most powerful forces in the world and prevail. The neem tree stands today in villages across India, just as it has for thousands of years. Its leaves still fall and enrich the soil. Its seeds still produce the oil that protects crops from insects. Its twigs are still used as toothbrushes. Its bark still brewed into medicine. It is a living testament to the power of traditional knowledge, and a reminder that the best solutions are often the oldest ones. The farmers who use it today are part of an unbroken chain of knowledge that stretches back through countless generations, a chain that the patent system tried to break but could not. If you want to use neem in your own garden, it is remarkably easy. You can buy neem oil from many garden centers, though I would encourage you to seek out cold-pressed, organic neem oil if possible, as this retains more of the active compounds. Mix a small amount with water and a drop of dish soap to help it emulsify, and spray it on your plants in the early morning or late evening when the sun is not too strong. It is safe for bees and other beneficial insects, as it primarily affects insects that eat the leaves of treated plants. You can also make your own neem tea from the leaves if you have access to a tree, or use neem cake, the residue left over after oil extraction, as a soil amendment that will both fertilize your plants and protect them from soil-dwelling pests. The possibilities are endless, and the knowledge is freely available to anyone who seeks it. In a world that is increasingly dominated by synthetic chemicals and corporate control, the neem tree offers a different path. It offers a path of cooperation with nature, rather than domination over it. It offers a path of shared knowledge, rather than private ownership. It offers a path of abundance, rather than scarcity. And perhaps that is the most important lesson of all. We have been taught to believe that progress means moving forward, that the new is always better than the old, that the solutions to our problems must come from laboratories and factories. But sometimes, progress means looking back. Sometimes, the most advanced technology is the one that has been perfected over thousands of years. Sometimes, the greatest innovation is simply remembering what we have forgotten. The neem tree has been waiting for us all along. It has been offering its gifts freely, without asking for anything in return. All we have to do is accept them. The next time you see a neem tree, or a bottle of neem oil in a garden center, I hope you will think about this story. I hope you will think about the thousands of years of knowledge that went into understanding this remarkable plant, and the courage of the people who fought to keep that knowledge free. I hope you will think about what it means to live in a world where the gifts of nature can be patented and sold, and what it would mean to live in a world where they cannot. And I hope you will join me in celebrating this extraordinary tree and in using its gifts to create a healthier, more sustainable world for all of us.